Dominican people, those of you who follow that program each and every Saturday from 6 o'clock, it's about that time. Those of you in the region, those of you much further afield, yes, it's about that time for you guys as well. Greetings and welcome to each and every one of you at this time. It's just about, let me see, 5 minutes, yes, 7 minutes to be precise, past the good old hour, as I normally say, of 6 o'clock. And it's time for another live engagement where we normally have that kind of conversation every Saturday from the 6 o'clock hour. And so all of you tuned in at this time, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. What I always ask of you is that just before we take flight, as it were, in the program itself, in terms of the contents thereof, please, I know you have friends on social media in particular. I know you have friends around you. I know you have family. Please share that live information to someone. Let them know that that program is on each and every Saturday, so that not just you could be benefiting from that program or knowing something you did not know before, but your friends as well, your contacts as well. All right, so that is your duty. I saw D-Right shared it already, so thank you, D-Right, for doing that, and the others will be doing that in just a bit. All right, I normally scrutinize and monitor the program after. A matter of fact, for those of you who don't know, every time I do a program, I make time in the week to go over the entire program. And so where sometimes I fall short, I always try to make amends. Where I forgot something, I always try to include it in the next program. Where those of you said certain things under that live feed, I normally try to do my research as well to come back to you from in a very factual manner. All right, so it is a well thought out and well put together program. Okay, indeed. Let me just say tonight being the 27th night of January 2024, it's indeed a very interesting program for you guys out there. Let me just run through some of the names who are already here, and we'll take some of your comments as we move forward here. Veronica Pascal, good evening to you. Carla Guy, good evening. Rosie Nice says, hello everyone. Mali Sakafet, good evening to you, Rosie Nice. Mali Ostri always calls a number of persons when she get here. So she's calling persons like Judy Berry, John Joseph, John Alfred, Owen Prosper, Margelle Durand, Estella Labasia, Fifth Sunshine, Celia Godden, etc., etc. All right. Veronica Pascal writes, Nuka Kute, Lofty. Thank you very much, Veronica, for kutein, as you say, for listening. In other words, Alan Pierre, Manuel in Pierre, Elizabeth Benjamin, Lucinda McDowell Thole, you're there. Sherlon Gis, Louis Francis, Cara, Alcy, Magdalene Augustine says, good evening, Lofty. I will be listening. Thank you much for your ears, Augustine. D-Right, Essence James, Joseph Parilla, Yvonne Abel, Tizier LaRose, Henry Kenyatta, Christina Nicholas, Janice Felix, Rosa Robinson, Claudette Durand, Marvella Defoe, Kenda Nicholas, Dave Bertrand, Juanita Prince, Natalie Sonwin, Brother Pat Corbett, you and your family in the north of Dominica, thank you very much. Danny Williams, Dorian Dorival, Juanita Prince, Eliza Louis Gomes, Danny Williams, Gemma Fontaine up there in Marigot. Good evening to you, Gemma, and your Marigot Passy. Stephanie John Baptist says, good evening, Lofty. Blessings. Harold Vidal, Dede Carriet, yes, or D-Day Carriet, good evening to you. Brother Matthew Nelson says, blessings all. Shakira Polido, you're also there. Stefan, yes, Stefan Stewart, good evening to you. Or Stephen, sorry, Stephen Stewart, good evening. Maslin Edwards says, Brona Primidi, Maslin. Usi. Darius Liquen says he's here. All right, Darius, thank you very much. Our very legal-minded brother. Corinne Frank, Zed Lloyd. Zed, good evening to you and your folks up there in the cold New York area. Mali Ostri, Sandra Alexander, Celia King, Santia Tia, Simeon George, Naslin Dick. That's one of my classmates here, Naslin Dick. Good evening to you. Rosie Nice says, Lofty, when are you going to speak on the secret political party? Well, Rosie Nice, there's nothing like a secret political party in Dominica. I have been hearing that as well. But what I can tell you, if you know me very well, I'm an open book. And if you want to know something about me or anything, it is said that I'm associated with, just pick up the phone and call me, all right? There's nothing to hide about where I am concerned, all right? So there are discussions being held as it pertains to changing the political tide in Dominica, all right? But as we speak, as I said, they are discussions, all right? So there's no secret political party. If something has to be turned politically, then you, Rosie Nice, and others, you will know once that time is right, all right? So no need to rush the brush. They say rushing the brush sometimes, you get dabbed, all right? And I know you don't want to get dabbed, Rosie, so thank you very much for your inquiry, nonetheless. Vanya Robin, Vanya Moses Etinoff, Cecilia Bedminster, Lauren Lestrade, Bernard Ulysses, D.D. Carrot, I mentioned you already, Susan George, Annette Mongery, Tazi Didier, Griffo Daniel, Maury Jules, Indira Telemac, Bernice Cothy, Trevor Butran, Kerry Lockhart Savage, indeed, you are there, good evening to you, my bro. Merlin Gordon, Carol Olivachi Bruni, Judith Cochran, Claudette Durand. Judith, you and your folks in the Cochrane area, good evening to you. My brother Marshall Lawrence, Judy Berry says Alaska is in the house. Fwedi in my A, what? I'm Judy, but I'm here. All right. Judy says Fwedi. Well, Judy, you are in that part of the world, where even on ordinary days, it is always Fwedi in your neck of the wood. That is Alaska. But we are glad to have you here, and we want to send some warmth your way, Judith, indeed. Hope that the program does that as we move forward. We have here Gav Jeremy, yes, G-R-A-V-E, that's Gav Jeremy. Kate Alexander, good evening to you. Mayan Tavernier Morley, you're also there. Leon Ismail, Joe Benjamin, Brother Dory Drago, always locked in. Kai K is watching. Kai K, good evening to you. Ramona St. Rose. Who else we have? Carol, Jules, Matthew, Joan Talbot, Laurie Xavier, Fiona Skeki. Is that Fiona Skeki? Good evening to you. Warrior, Sejan, Angela Paul. We have Leonard Augustine, Lendell Johnson, June Charles, Kay Sentami, Angela Roy, and the list goes on and on and on. Niski Alfred just tuning in. Gloria Hill just tuning in as well. Folks, if I did not call your name, Karen, Joseph, it's not that I didn't want to. But in the interest of time, it's already 1:15. And so you know how the conversations they are always packed with information, and we've got to get things going here, all right? Nevis is in the house, Norma Common, Petra Carbon George, my friend Petra in the USVI, good evening to you in a very special way. And just for you folks who don't know, Petra Carbon George is a young lady that I admire very well, very much. She's doing her best for Dominica, even if she's out of Dominica, doing what, in my estimation, our politicians are supposed to be doing in terms of having our produce from Dominica reaching other soils. And so Petra is involved in that. So please support Petra Carbon George, that is. A young lady from the north of Dominica. A very innovative lady, I must say. Very industrious lady, I must say. And she's doing what she can for her country, Dominica. Petra, keep it up, my friend. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. All right, Dominicans, where are we going tonight? First up on the agenda tonight, Dominicans, we have 5 items on the agenda. Tonight, Dominicans, those of you who are in Dominica, those of you overseas as well, and will be watching via some kind of online platform. Tonight is the night, the semi-finals of the Calypso competition. It promises to be a very big night tonight where Calypso in Dominica is concerned. So those of you who are in Dominica, the forecourt of the Windsor Park should be your place tonight, all right? Don't stay home unnecessarily, that is, and view it online. You know, press flesh through the persons there, okay? Those of you who are outside of Dominica, well, you cannot be there in the flesh. There's this online platform which you can hook up to so that you too can see and hear what is going down tonight in terms of our Calypsonians, male and female, contending for that coveted crown of Calypso monarch in Dominica. All right, we have how many? We have 19 Calypsonians, I believe. Yes, 19 Calypsonians taking part tonight, and only 9 will go through, and they will go through because there's this brother at the top, or at the pinnacle at this time, brother Trilogy. They will be trying to unseat or uncrown brother Trilogy come the night of the finals. All right, so the semi-finals, I can tell you, it is always a very tense night. And so, you know, the patrons there, you will be in tune for a very interesting show tonight, where our Calypsonians have been doing very well for themselves, keeping that art form alive. Oh, Dorian says 20 of them. 20 of them, 9 will be going through to meet JDS. All right, so yeah. Thank you, Dorian, for that correction indeed. All right, and it promises to be a very big show, so folks, it's only $50 EC for a ticket. 60 at the gate, I'm being told. So, you know, please support the art form. All right, and as we normally say, may the best man or woman or women or men tonight be part of the cream of the crop as they continue their journey to that coveted Calypso crown in Dominica. All right. As it is said, where there's Calypso, there's always controversy. Calypso and controversy, those two C's, they always go together. So we may be in for some controversy tonight, but you know, we normally agree to disagree at the end of it and move on. All right. So those of you who are judging the show tonight, please try your best from your conscience, that is, to put on paper in terms of the score or a score that your conscience tells you what you saw and what you heard on tonight's big stage. All right, I just had to plug that in there. All right, so having said that, Dominicans, I want to compliment again at least 2 Dominicans, primarily Mr. Alex Powell Bruno. Powell Bruno launched a book, Mamu, yesterday, past Prime Minister of Dominica, speaking about her life and times, her legacy in Dominica. So, Brother Alex Bruno, you and your team at UE yesterday from 3 o'clock, I believe, there was this launching of this book. And so if you don't have a copy of this book as yet, please check Alex, and then he will make you or ensure that you get a copy of that book. What I heard him said as well is that, and that is worth commending in terms of the effort, he is going to do his very best to document not just Eugenia Charles as a past Prime Minister, but all persons who sat in that seat where the Prime Ministership is concerned. All right? So, Alex, I wish you very well in that endeavor. On that note as well, still there, I want to compliment as well Dr. Irvin Andre. This brother also launched a book as well, again, highlighting the works, the life, the times of another industrious brother, Brother Rosie Douglas. He did that Thursday, yes, Thursday, at UWI, that is. I carried that program live from the start to the finish, and so it was well attended first and foremost, and the persons who were there received Dr. Andre's book very, very well, just recalling the life and time of our deceased past Prime Minister, Rosie Douglas. Those of you who don't have a copy as yet, as I said, read Alex's book. Please try to get a copy of Brother Andre's book. At least that one. This brother has a number of books so far, but that one, I can tell you, it is another one for your archives. All right. I have one there stored away in my archives. I haven't touched it yet in terms of reading, but I will try to make some time to read from cover to cover what Dr. Andre has to say about Rosie Douglas. All right. I also see Veronica Pascal is putting a note here with Dr. Dale Dangleben as well. This brother is another erudite brother, that is Brother Dale Dangleben, pushing books about Dominica, about the characters in Dominica, be it good or bad. And so, Brother Dale, you too, you are in that field. I want to thank you very much. And all the writers in Dominica, there are persons who are writing, documenting Dominica for posterity reasons. And so, all those of you who are in the writing business, the literature business, the arts, we want to thank you very, very much indeed. All right? It is all of us playing our part. When put together as a whole, then we will, as a country, derive the benefits thereof, right? Dorothy says here, what is Jomin saying? Something about the UK? Good evening, Lofty. Waiting to check out the semis. It's 22:23 UK time. All right, thank you very much, my friend Dorothy. She says she's waiting. All right. All right, Dominicans, let us get into more meatier matters now. My first stop tonight with us, it is at the good old PMH, the good old hospital in Dominica. Of late, much have been said about that place. Much have been written about the PMH. And so we will be going back there, just for some minutes in tonight's program. Read the PMH and the things that are happening there of late. We will also be touching on the situation where this young lady, Jada Sejan, is lying on her bed as we speak, unable to move freely. She's moving on her crutches as we speak. We will be going back there for just a bit to sort of re-inject that accident where she was involved on about August of last year. And so we need to keep that situation alive and well, because it is said, justice delayed, justice denied. And what is happening to one, and it is now happening to Jada in terms of an injustice, that is how I see it, then that kind of injustice has the propensity to reach on our doorsteps. And we would want, when it reaches on our doorsteps, somebody will be able to speak for and on our behalf. All right? We are not selfish where justice or injustice is concerned. So we'll be going back there. Also, Dominicans, as a country now, some of us saw a letter from the United Nations floating on social media, making the rounds, as it pertains to our dues, our unpaid dues. Let me qualify those dues. Our unpaid dues at the level of the United Nations, where Dominica, our country, has basically lost its voting right. And so we'll be reading that letter to you, the one that has been floating on social media. But even more importantly, through some contact at the United Nations, I have in my possession another communique that speaks to the dollars and cents that we owe as a country at the United Nations level. And so yours truly will be punching at you tonight that figure as it pertains to our dues that we are owing at the United Nations. All right? So Dominicans, you are in for a very interesting program tonight. So all I ask is that you sit tight. We will be cruising about 35,000 feet. That is where I normally like to stay, above the clouds. All right? It is very, very comfortable up there. And so, unless we are done at 8 o'clock, we will not be hitting the tarmac. All right? Finally, the Civic Vibes program tomorrow, we will be making contact with a brother from Antigua and Barbuda. He will be giving us some updates as it pertains to his country. Because what it is said, we are in one Caribbean space. Again, what happens in one region, what happens in Antigua and Barbuda, it sure has that natural tendency to occur in Dominica. So it is always good that we keep, we keep abreast with things around us in the space that we live. All right, we are not in a bubble by ourselves. We are not in a vacuum by ourselves. And so, brother Bird, Via Bird III, they call him. He will be coming and spend some time with Alvin and I tomorrow, and as well with you, to give us some updated information as it pertains to his country, Antigua and Barbuda. One of the items that will be on the agenda for sure that he will be discussing with us, it is the whole CBI program, should I say fiasco, in our countries of late. This past week, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday it was, I had the privilege, I had the honor to be sitting in a conference room. It was one online in nature. It was a virtual conference, but a lot of big names, big Gandhis I call them, they were present at this conference. We had persons, for example, like the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, that is Mr. Terence Drew. We also had his Attorney General in the audience as well. We also had his head of his CBI unit in the audience as well. And we had a number of folks from this organization, I think based in America, that is MSR. And so about 70, 75, 80 plus participants were on that feed. And I can tell you, the CBI program, not just in the region, but across the globe, it came rather, under the microscope. And I can tell you, based on what I heard, the leaders of these countries who have right now the CBI program as part of the mainstay for the economy, if things are not put in place. I know what I'm going to say. We may have heard that already, but I'm telling you now, based on what I heard, the impressions I got from those discussions really is, persons in attendance. If certain things are not put in place, as it pertains to the security in particular aspect of these programs, which will lend itself now to the longevity of these programs, then we may be in for a very, very rude awakening in the not so distant future. All right? And so that is why St. Kitts and Nevis, at that conference, that country came in for high praise. Why did they come in for high praise? because through the mouths of the Attorney General of St. Kitts and Nevis, and also the Prime Minister as well, and as well the head of that unit, they basically give us some valid information how they reformed, or they are now in the process of, tightening up things so that it is not just wash your foot and come. And as part of that reformation process now, where St. Kitts and Nevis has, St. Kitts and Nevis can fit in Dominica at least twice and more. And they are making much more gains as it pertains to that industry. And so as part of that process, in terms of the tightening of the belt, Marshal Lawrence, I did not see anybody, I did not hear anybody from Dominica. I'm not saying they were not there, but based on me going through the participants list, Dominican's name did not come up in my, in my memory, so I cannot speak to that. But I don't want to go on that limb to say that no one was representing Dominica. So let me go on the side of caution and saying I did not see, I did not hear anybody make representations on Dominica behalf. All right, and just to be correct, the other countries, St. Lucia, Antigua, Grenada. Yes, I think Grenada, someone spoke on Grenada's behalf. But some other countries, they were not, well, I did not hear any contribution coming from them. So I cannot say that they did not have representatives there, but for sure, St. Kitts and Nevis and Grenada, to a small extent, contributions came from them. And yes, so as I was saying before we wrap on that, as a result of that reformed agenda now by St. Kitts and Nevis government, it was established, it was said from a factual standpoint that Hollywood, this big film organization based in America now, there's this sort of partnering, as it were, with St. Kitts and Nevis as a country now, where some of the movies, the documentaries, the films, whatever it is, that will be in the future be punching out from Hollywood, that is, some of that will be documented in St. Kitts and Nevis. So you can well now imagine, people, that whole new niche market that opens up now to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, in that because of what they did and still doing, still tightening up, here it is, that avenue has opened up. And so the St. Kitts and Nevis people, they are now in line to receive much more in terms of income generation now from that program that we ourselves have in Dominica, and we have not been doing much with it. All right, so I just thought I would rest it there first. I will try my very best to get some of the presenters that presented at that conference. I'll try to get them on the Civic Vibes program so that you can hear from them as well what they said then, and maybe much more, because I guess it's an evolving situation, and by then they will have much more information to share with us in Dominica. All right, but I want to underscore very, very critically the CBI programs, not just in Dominica, not just in the region, further afield as well. Trust me, if things are not put in place sooner rather than later, the hammer will be coming down. All right? All right, Dominicans, let's go now to the first item on the agenda, as it were, in terms of our hospital. We heard last week, or week before, this infamous voice note going around social media, where this lady, I must say, her name is not too important now. All right, Her name is not too important now. But what I can tell you about the origin of that voice note in terms of location, that lady wasn't in Dominica when that voice note was made. That certainly doesn't make it right, but just for context, I'm telling us that. I'm telling us as well from the grapevine, this lady who made that voice note, obviously she worked as a ward aide at the PMH for some time, and she saw what she saw, she knew what she knew, and it was her intention already to, there was preparation made by her to leave that job. And so I'm being told she was somewhere out there, somewhere in the French countries when that voice note was made. Basically, we all heard the voice note, so I'm not going to rehash what she said, all right? It was very naughty, I must say. But that lady, that voice note, people, it puts now into sharp focus for us what has been happening at our hospital, maybe on a smaller scale, where confidentiality and privacy of patients, of clients' information is concerned. And so it really just, got to a head with that voice note. And so the people at the hospital, in response, they had to put out that letter and, trying to calm the situation as well. But I can tell you, people, based on me digging, that is not the first time that such confidential information as it pertains to clients' information or patients' information left the confines of the hospital or the health centers and were out in the public. All right? I want to put that there in terms of a position of fact. So that lady was on her way out as it pertains to that employment, and so I guess maybe that gave her the that maybe gave her the energy, the oomph to put what she had to put out there, because she already knew that she was on her way out. All right. Since then, well, we saw the letter that emanated from the hospital in terms of, talking about the confidentiality matters, and that wasn't supposed to happen, and measures have been put in place, and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes we are, well, when I say we, the authorities in Dominica, those who have been placed in responsible positions to tend to our business, sometimes these people are always on the back foot. They are always one step back and always trying to play catch up. All right. So we heard about that letter. A matter of fact, let me see. I think it is prudent of me if I go through that letter with you guys in terms of the response from the hospital administration. Read that infamous voice note, I must say. What as well, Dominicans, I can tell us, and those friends of this program listening, what as well I can tell us? It has been brought to my attention and confirmed by 3 different sources that the voice noter in question, the person in question that made that voice note, it is said that she was one of those that was lucky enough to get into the system as a ward aide because of the help of her pal rep. You heard me right? It was as a result of the help of her pal rep that this lady got into the system so that she could hold on to that position as a ward aide for some time. And persons who are in the know, persons who went through that program and they did not go through that program because of their pal rep, then they brought to my attention that in the days gone by, persons had to go through a certain process. There was a process, there was a protocol that needed to be followed. And so, without giving out much information, let me read to you guys at least part of that process from someone who went through that process. At least that person was brave enough and confided in me enough to send to me their certificate after going through that training program that afforded them the opportunity to hold on to that job as a ward aide. And hear what that certificate says. I'm not going to call names, and that is why I'm not showing it to you, because I didn't blot out the names and the essential information. But here in brief what that certificate says, and that, people, was the process that persons had to go through back then. Now it's a situation that turned on its head. It's wash your foot and come, and my pal rep sent me a scenario that is happening now. Hence, what we are going through today as it pertains to the lack of confidentiality is showing its ugly head. Listen, that certificate reads, Princess Margaret Hospital. So we're not talking about China Friendship Hospital. So it goes back. Okay? Certificate of training. It says, this is to certify that. And after that, underlines the person name in question, which I'll not be naming to you. It says, this is to certify that, let us say Joe Blow or John Doe completed a 16-week, hear the period of time, people, a 16-week training course in basic patient care and ward ancillary duties from whatever date to whatever date. And that date, it precedes the 2000s. Just for, you can get an idea of what that certificate is saying. Way before 2000. So not this Johnny lately come. Not this Johnny comes lately we're talking about. It says dated this, whatever date of whatever month and whatever year. And it is signed by the matron, who was the matron then. I'll not say the matron name. And as well, the chief medical officer. All right. So what I just read from this tab of mine, it is proof that there was a process that the hospital people in particular had to go through to get into the system. And during that process, obviously, things like that would come up in terms of the enforcing or the pounding of patients' confidentiality is key. Again, what we have today, people, it is you go to your pal rep, you vote for your pal rep, you bring your phone to let your pal rep know you vote for him, and then your pal rep now calls whoever the PMH, and then they plug you in there as a square peg in a round hole situation. And so some of us, we are making a big hue and cry now about the person who created that voice note. That is one part of the problem. To me, that is the smaller part of the problem. The bigger part of the problem is what is not being touted or talked about. It is the mismanagement, the micromanagement of the system now. That, to me, it is the more crucial part of the problem we are facing today. And so again, I always say, if we as a people who know better choose not to do better, choose not to rise up and demand better, then we will always be in that predicament, people. So it was Ferdinand Frampton's information that was outside. You may be next. Your mother may be next. And so because you are supporting your party now, you put on your party lens on your eyes. You hear no evil, you see no evil. It's only when it boils down to you and your household and to the people around you, from a personal standpoint, that is the time you will want to make a fuss. If I had known, you know, that kind of a Saul-like mentality. And so it is times like these we have to put away those political blinders and call a spade a spade. And so those persons now who are charged with the responsibility of putting or keeping this mechanism in place and are basically throwing them under the bus, abandoning them, then the result is what we got and what we'll continue to get. All right, Dominicans? So just to underscore that point, it was a process before. We are now talking about the system at the hospital. A process. There was a process to follow. But now that process has been totally dismantled and we are operating with something else. In the interest of time, I'm not even going to read that note that emanated out of the hospital. Finally, on that, people, did you guys understand or take note or took note of how long it took the hospital administration and or the Ministry of Health to come out with a response re that matter? Did you guys take note of the time lag, the time delay there? What I can tell you, that response that came out, it was not after a quote-unquote tug of war between the Ministry of Health and the hospital administration people. And it all sprang back to the initial statement, I'm being told, that was made by Cassani Laville as Minister of Health now, where he basically threw his people under the bus in terms of what he said before. And so the attitude, I'm being told, was, Cassani, if you are prepared to speak on that, you should also be prepared to respond to this as well. And so it was this cat and rat situation, as it were. But finally, I guess better sense or good sense prevailed, and it came out from the hospital administration and in terms of a response to the public, at least something to, allay the fears of some in the public. Yeah? Folks, I said it last week. I want to reiterate it again to us. The hospital, the PMH in particular, the mismanagement of there, it is costing lives. And you will only identify with that statement when you or your loved one, you guys are personally affected by that mismanagement. I cannot say it any better. Because persons who are in the know, persons who are in this system working, and they are struggling with that mismanagement of a system, they are speaking. You will not hear them come on You will not hear them come and speak with me then now, no. You will not hear them go on national radio and say anything. But they are speaking. Yeah, they are speaking. And what they are saying, it is very, very frightening. And as the saying goes, 100 Frenchmen cannot be wrong. So, just a word of caution, be very, very, very careful. I know sickness comes for everybody at any time. But if you can avoid it, people, by your eating habits, I see my brother Indigenous Bushman is here. Greetings to you, my brother. If you can avoid that place by changing up your eating habits, by your exercising, by doing things or staying away from scenarios that will prevent you from going up there, it is all for your good. I see some people in Dominica, especially the young people in particular, they are living their lives very, very recklessly. Very recklessly. And it's only when they get up there, they're realizing, but something is fundamentally wrong. So if you can prevent that, please do. I beseech you. Dominicans, we also need to all right, before we also need to, let me get to some of your comments here. All right, let me get to some of your comments here. Let me get to some of your comments. Norman Schillingford, you just tuned in. Good evening to you, my brother. Let me get to some of you guys' comments as we are cruising above the clouds now. All right. Marceline Edwards, right? Really? She said, if that same lady seeks employment in that same field she had in Dominica, then clearly she should be denied employment since habits at home carry abroad. That is Marceline Edwards' comment. Marceline, I don't know if the lady in question is seeking employment elsewhere. I don't know, but all I can tell you, at the time of that voice note, she was nowhere close on Dominica's shores, all right? And I'm being told it was her intention already to have left that job prior to that voice note. Josephine Lender says, if she's out, she can come back in once you know where she is. Larry Lloyd, what did I miss? Larry, you if it's now you're tuning in, you miss much. Someone says, your lofty people died everywhere. Cyrilia Celestine says, lofty people died everywhere. All right, I think you want to write here, Miss Celestine, that people die everywhere. And if I would take your comment based on what we are talking about tonight, I don't want you to take my comments out of context. And I'm not giving nobody the impression, like a madman would, that people are not dying everywhere. I am saying, Miss Celestine, that there are deaths that could be prevented at DPMH. That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm prepared to say, because of what I know is happening. And so if you and other persons want to continue, as it were, going along, jolly, that is, burying your heads in the sand like as if nothing is wrong, then that's fine. I cannot tell you what to believe, but I can only say what I know from a very, very factual standpoint. A matter of fact, persons who know better, who are in the medical field, I didn't want to go there, but seeing that you go there, you push me there. Persons who are in the medical field that after listening to our sister's situation for Dinah Frampton, they said, Lofty, if Dinah was in another country with what it took to attend to her, Dinah most likely would be alive today. Now, again, I don't want to say one thing and do the other. And so there are certain factual information as it pertains to what surrounded or the situation that surrounded for Dinah's case. I'm not going into detail, so don't drag me there. All I am prepared to say, if Dinah was in a different place, and I can make mention because I witnessed how these people operate. There's a hospital in Martinique called La Menade. I was there for some time, not me personally, but I was there for some time witnessing the situation of how these people operate. And so just Martinique, 40 minutes on plane, 2 hours by boat, just there. How I saw these people taking care of their patients. I am prepared to say, if you die at that health facility, then you had to die. Because these people, they go all out, all measures are put in place to ensure life is preserved. Compare that to what we have at the PMH. It's chalk and cheese is an understatement. And so I'm not talking from my head. I'm talking based on what I know. All right? And so I will stop there for now in terms of not drag into more details. Let Dinah's body rest in peace. But it is you and I that have to take precaution. Those of us who are still on this side of life. So Miss Celestine, Cyrilia, you call your name. Please, if you don't know what you're talking about, don't be too fast to stretch your hand out for a situation that you may not have the details. I pray to God that you never reach at the hospital. But people who are there, as we speak, they are going through the awkward situation of not having much at the hospital to tend to them. That in as much as I can tell you and others, all right? I believe you love this sample operation, Linden George. TC says here, TC Gordon says, Walcott Clunes, you can in no way compare healthcare in the United States to healthcare in Dominica. TC Gordon says, block that Celestine person. Well, TC, I'm not in the blocking business, you know. I mean to say, the only way I'll block somebody under my life to the plane job is if they're being very disrespectful, you know, like, you know, just being But at the end of the day, we are supposed to be living in democracy still, and so I think Celestine and others, they are supporting what they support. They have their own views, and so all ideas must contend. But the facts are the facts. Kerry Lockhart Savage says, Lofty, you are correct. I live in the French territory. Macpherson Baba, when it happens to their families, they sign, not they sign, Baba, they sing. I would want you I want to think that's what you want to say. But you say they sign, but they sing a different song. All right? Manuel Impia says, something is really wrong with the hospital in Dominica. Those who can see, that is blind in one eye and cannot see in the other eye. What do you call that person, Manuel Impia? Those who are blind in one eye and cannot see the other. They are blind, right? Totally blind. We need to call Dr. Ricketts. I don't think she can do much, but we can give her a shout out. Cyrilia Pierre says here again, we must go, doctor, we sick. Cyrilia, just take your time and write. You know? We have 2 hours here every Saturday, so just take it easy. But I understand your drift. You are saying here, or suggesting here, we must go to doctor when we are sick. And I agree with you, 100%. Whenever we feel sick, go to doctor. But going to doctor at the PMH, the doctors tell you when you get up there, they can only do that much for you. And that is what we're saying. And if you don't believe me, Celestine, you should be able to believe Ruby Blanc when she said to her doctors, her surgeons, that they did not have what medicine? Perfidine or perifidine or whatever they call it last week. We saw the note that says now we have that medicine in stock, and all the elective surgeries now can move on or can go on. So it's not me saying Cyrilia, is the authorities, they confirming what I'm saying. All right? Cool. Dorian Dorival says, when she or family member end up there, then with unfortunate and die, she will sing a different song. All right, Dorival, we don't wish that for her, but, you know, thanks for your comment. Dave Bertrand says, did you listen to Dr. Christian? The medical equipment which is sent to Dominica that could be used to treat for Dinah went walking. Wow, I didn't hear that piece. I'll try to link up with Dr. Christian to see exactly what is up with that. Malia Street said, I bet you if she falls sick, she will be afraid to go to the hospital. Lord have mercy. Lixie War, friend in Switzerland, she said, one-eyed man. Patricia Fontaine, who feels it knows it, so the people knows what they're talking about. Let them talk. Avril Pierre says, well, I'm one to say I was coming to Dominica in August and someone was going to the hospital to do something. Had to bring a lot of medical things for her. Well, Avril is confirming what she did in terms of someone being admitted to the hospital. All right. TC says a hospital with hardly any critical medications and equipment, clinics, and closed on weekends. TC, you sure you know to say that the hospital is closed on the weekend? I didn't know that, but it is what it is. My friend Nivea Newman from Grenada, yes, saying that sending love from Grenada, you are the voice of the voiceless. And Nivea, thank you very much for your compliment. I took it in the vein that you sent it, but I want to reciprocate that to you as well. You are a particular voice for your people in Grenada, all right? So it is you and I doing that in the region and others that will let our region be much more connected, all right? So keep doing what you're doing. You're a real firecracker in Grenada, the Spice Isle as well, all right? Silver Bullet, you're watching and listening. Lixie War says, no, we must always see our medical practitioner every year or every 6 months. We must go to the doctor when we are healthy, not sick. All right, well, now you have the conversations opening up now, but I agree with you very much. Thank our friend from Switzerland. Paybush Clinic is closed on weekends. They have to go to Portsmouth. Well, okay, well, I understand what you are talking about now, TC. I guess in the out district, some of the clinics are closed. Shouldn't be, but if we don't have the funds to keep them open, TC, then they have to close, eh? I thought you were talking about the main hospital being closed on the weekend. Edna Ernest, good evening, Lofty. Listening, I'm in the listening audience. Norma Durban Charles, good evening to you as well. Cyrilia Celestine says, Lofty, I love you. We will talk. Thank you very much, Cyrilia. We will talk indeed. My number is an open number, 245-2396. Please feel free anytime. Love to hear and continue the work you do, bro. I appreciate you, my brother. That is Brother Jefferson Winston. Jefferson Winston, I need to give you a call as well, all right? We need to follow up on some things, all right? So look out for that call in the week. Gardia Delu says, I feeling it. Those who in Dominica and cannot leave for medical treatment, sorry for them. Roosevelt Bossini and his family can move out for medical treatments, but what about those who cannot run? Keep voting, Brother Delu says. Who else we have? Who else we have? Who else we have here? Avril Pierre comes back and say, and thanks for keeping us up to date with what's going on in Dominica. So much love indeed. All right, okay, folks, we have to move on. There are some more comments coming in, but we have to move on in the interest of time. It is already 7:07, so we're already 1 hour into the program. Let me just, as Ozzy Lewis would normally say, take a little thoracic lubrication there. That's a very, very big term for just saying he's thirsty. Ozzy Lewis, good evening to you. And my wife, Yusi, in the Emsall area. I need to pass and see that brother sometime in the week. I've been told he's not doing too well. And so I will do some following up on Ozzy and his wife, Yusi, in the Emsall area this week. But be of good cheer, Ozzy. Things will work out, all right? Okay, Dominicans, let us move now to another topic for discussion tonight. I want to go back to a discussion that I had with a young lady in the week. What day was that? Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday of this week. Named Jada Saint-Jean. She lives in the Tarishmith area. She's about 25. She's not 30 years yet for sure. A very young sister. In terms of, well, what you guys didn't or couldn't capture on the discussion, I will punch it at you now. Very young lady, 25 about there, 27 max. She is now able to do some kind of walking, but by the means of her things under her arm. All right, the things that the sick people need, maybe crutch. All right, that is the only way she can move about. So she lie on her bed, basically for the better part of the day. That is where I met her. When I came to just have the initial discussions with her. And that is where I met her when I came back to do the interview with her. So basically she's immobile as we speak. Now bear in mind, that young lady, she used to be on the national team, the national women's team, where football is concerned in Dominica. And so you can now start to paint that picture in your mind, what sort of lady, young lady we're talking about now, in terms of her agility before that accident. As I read the story on DNO, documented that is, she and her boyfriend was coming from this Grand Bay Fest or whatever it is, some fete in the Grand Bay area. And here it is on the Bellevue Road. They collided with a pickup, not a pickup, sorry, a vehicle that was being driven by none other than the son of Roosevelt Skerritt in Dominica. That is Malik Skerritt. Now, when I posted that interview with the young lady, some persons came under that post, and they were basically suggesting certain things that, based on their comments, I knew they were not in the know as to what they were talking about from a factual standpoint. And so those of you who are doing that still, I pity you. But it is always good to ascertain the facts of any matter before you jump to a conclusion. And I can tell you, from a position of fact. F-A-C-T, fact. The vehicle TM854, that vehicle at the time of that accident, the license on there was expired. I'm not asking you, I am telling you. Now, once a vehicle is in that state of the license, and that is what gives it the permission to be on the public road. Once that license has expired, meaning it expired and it has not been paid into the coffers of state to be appropriate to be back on the road, what in my mind, I'm not no lawman, but in my mind, whatever happens to that vehicle on the road and the driver and the people there, you guys are in the wrong, especially the driver. And so, as they say in law, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And so don't tell me you pick up a vehicle and you did not know the license was expired and needed to be paid before it could be back on the road, and you behind that wheel. And so it is as a result of that now that I saw the need to go to talk to that young lady, Miss Jada Saint Jean, who is lying on her bed from since August last year as a result of that accident. Where an injustice now is being meted out to her. An injustice is being meted out to that young lady, Jada Saint Jean, from August last year. Because it is now public knowledge that the driver of that vehicle, that Mitsubishi Outlander, black in color, registration number TM854, that was expired at the time in terms of its license fees, that driver, as we speak, is presently out of state. But at the end of that article that I read, you hear our police in Dominica said on that article, it is registered, the investigation into that matter, it's ongoing. And I can tell you, as another position, a fact, the report that the police know, whoever is investigating that matter, as it pertains to one young man, deaf, and one young woman, I can say what I saw, partially crippled. That report by the police is nowhere in sight in terms of it coming forth. And so you have Jada Saint Jean now. That young lady is laying on a bed in that condition, cannot do much for herself. And the police report that's supposed to at least start to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that at least the law can take its effect now. That report is not forthcoming. As to why that report is not forthcoming as yet, 6 months on, where a young man died and a young lady is basically struggling to move, one must ask themselves, why is that report taking so goddamn long? And so those of you who don't know what you guys are talking about as to who right and who wrong, you are not law unto yourself. Let it be known. Remember, people, the license plate, the registration number of that vehicle, it starts with the letters TM. And TM, based on my digging for information, it is registered to a company in Dominica. So it wasn't privately owned. And that company, that vehicle, based on me digging the issues, that vehicle was parked in the yard. And so whoever gave Malik Skerrit the permission to use that vehicle, then there are a lot of questions that need to be answered in that department. Because Malik Skerrit could not of his own free will come out where he came out from, just drop in that yard and take that vehicle and move out and cause that unfortunate accident where one young man lost his life and one young lady is struggling to move again. He couldn't have just dropped. And so there was some authority who I am saying now, I am injecting that now, who gave authority to the people, the security guard, the personnel in that business. Hey, Malik Skerrit is coming. Issue him that vehicle for me, please. And if I am wrong, on my perspective as to that, I need the person or the people to correct me as to really how Malik Skerrit ended up with a vehicle that was not registered in his name, but in a company's name. So correct me, people, if I am wrong. That very same vehicle, based on my intel again, a minister of government was driving that vehicle. She, yes, it's a she, had that vehicle in her possession for some time before, I'm being told, the state got her another. And so a lot of folks, if you guys are following up, if you guys are taking notes of what is happening around you, a lot of you, TM854, Black Mitsubishi Outlander, you will know exactly which sitting minister of government today, a female that is, had that vehicle in her possession for some time before she got another. Now folks, the critical point where Miss Saint-Jean now could claim, or a claim could be made on Miss Saint-Jean's behalf for her injuries it is through an insurance company. And yours truly is being told the very same vehicle, there was no insurance attached to that vehicle in terms of the policy being active. And that you can take to the bank. Hence, Jada is lying on her back. And no company in Dominica, as per insurance now, will see it fit to help her. Nobody can intervene where an insurance company is concerned to say, you know something, Malik caused that accident, and here it is, this young lady is suffering. The insurance policy is up to date. Let us see what we can do for her. No insurance company, they are not going to dabble in that, because that vehicle in question, the policy was not active anywhere. And so we can now start to unravel why Miss Jada Sejan is still on her back, trying her best to get back to her normal life. Because one, the vehicle in question, TM854, wasn't insured. Added to that, the license had expired. So that throw that case now in a totally different tailspin. And when that interview was played on Q95, you heard the spin my brother Matt now was putting on it as to what he was hearing from the other side as to why they did not want to take up that responsibility. You heard it. I don't need to go back there. And so a lawyer or some lawyers now are the only people in Dominica now that can step in, make representation on Jada's behalf, and find some kind of sympathy with a court and let this young woman be compensated, not for her injuries, because her injuries are what they are already, but at least to help her through the cost of trying to get her back on track. And it's only a heartless man or a heartless woman whose son was involved in an accident. I wasn't there. I don't know. But it is said, it is rumored, you took care of your son's part of it by at least paying the funeral expenses of the brother who passed, the boyfriend of the daughter who passed. And you choose not, deliberately so, not to look back on the pinion rider and have some kind of compassion. And it's the same set of you who are condoning that evil I am saying, who will go to church tomorrow, and when your pastor or your priest says it's time for the Lord's Supper, you will come with your hand like that to partake. Fire times 7 burn you guys. And I make no apology for that. Because if you're not incensed of the injustice that is going on in Dominica, where Dominicans are concerned, you don't have a heart. And so, I am hoping hoping that at least a lawyer or two lawyers or some lawyers would come forth and do some kind of pro bono work for and on behalf of this young lady, what they call it in legal term, contingency case or whatever it is, and do something on that lady's behalf before 3 years, I'm being told, before 3 years elapse. Because once 3 years has elapsed, is nothing else that can be sought by the court. So those of you lawyers outside there hearing me, please, I beseech you, I beg you, on her behalf. At least I contacted one already on her behalf, and that person decided to do something. So I thank you in advance. But there are others. There are others who can join and help to expedite the process. Because today it is Jada Saint-Jean of Tarishpit. Tomorrow it may be you, it may be your son, it may be your daughter, it may be your family member. Finally, Dominicans, before we move from that subject matter, let me see if I can boost up for you now an audio that I want you to play, an audio that I want you to listen to, as it pertains to one young man giving me the permission to use his audio he sent to me in private when he heard that matter, as to he was one of the first persons on site on the hours of that morning to witness what happened. I'm going to try to pump up that brother's audio so you can hear from him, not me, as to where and why the report is not out as yet. Let me see what I need to do here. Give me like 30 seconds, people. Where did I save that now? Okay. Hold on, people. Hold on. Listen.
Lofty has getting trouble with voice note, but I can leave my voice note as a fact. My name is Michael Timothy. The incident happened after Wedfed on the 13th or 14th of August, after what you did. It was the Saturday into the Sunday. You can put me on record. I have the voice note where I allegedly give it to a friend of mine, and the friend say he sent it out inadvertently, you know, about my famous voice note. But the investigating police officer called me a month later, exactly on the 13th of September, asking me if I want to give a witness statement, account of what transpired or what I see and what I did not see. I told the police, where is Malik Skerrit? He told me that's none of my damn business. So I tell him, I cannot recall to give any statement. I'm a madman and I do have good head and I cannot think. And I cannot recall. When I tell that to the police, he slammed down the phone in my face. But I have his number, he called me from. And then a day I was happened to be like Greens Wholesale. And the police approached me and tell me, is he that called me? Sometimes the police does work undercover in plain clothes in certain establishments. So then he told me it was nothing personal, you know? But I just laugh. So on record, an incident happened in Dominica. We were accident on the 13th or 14th of August, the Sunday, to be exact, in 2023. And a month later, a police calling me to investigate, to ask me what I have to say or give account. So I see that was going nowhere, and I see that was justice delayed, justice denied, because of the certain influence of politics in it. So I declined by saying I do have good head. I cannot recall. You can put that on a record. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, my brother. And the person you just heard, Michael Timothy, he said to me I can put it on the record, and that is why I chose to put it on the record. Just to add some more context as to what happened on that night, Michael Timothy was one of the first persons on the scene that actually could recall what transpired. And you heard Michael said a police, which he presumed to be an investigating officer on that matter, called Michael 1 month after the accident. And you heard him said what went on between them, the back and forth, the back and forth, the back and forth. When he asked for Malik Skerrit, that is what Michael is saying, not me. Michael is saying when he asked the whereabouts of Malik Skerrit from the investigating officer, the investigating officer slammed down his phone on him. Let me play that one more time, people, before we move to the last subject matter on the agenda.
I have the police phone number, and I don't know his name, but I know him by face. Yeah. Love, I allegedly give it to a friend of mine, and the friend say he sent it out inadvertently, about my famous voice note. But the investigating police officer called me a month later, exactly on the 13th of September, asking me if I want to give a witness statement, account of what transpired or what I see and what I did not see.
Let's pause Michael here for a little while. Michael Timothy said the investigating officer, whoever that was, called him 1 month later and was trying to extract from Michael a statement. What he saw, what he didn't see, just recalling what Michael, would have had to say to the police in terms of the accident on the night.
I told the police, where is Malik Skerrit?
Michael Timothy is saying to us here tonight, he asked the police, he said he told the police, but I want to think, he asked the police, where is Malik Skerrit? Because Michael Timothy know that Malik Skerrit was the one he saw the night as the driver of that Mitsubishi Outlander pickup, that Jeep, when it was being driven, and the person in it that caused the accident on Bellevue Super Road. So Michael was in his good sense of mind to ask the officer a question, just where is Malik, before I start to divulge information to you.
He tell me that's none of my damn business.
Okay, people. That's not me. Michael is reporting on the record. The police that called him, asking him to give a report or a record of what happened. All he asked. He didn't ask for Roosevelt Skerrit, He asked, where's Malik Skerrit? He didn't ask for Loftus Duran. He asked where Malik Skerrit, because he had a reason to ask, where is Malik Skerrit? Because Malik Skerrit was the one, or one of the people that was in that accident on the night. And we all know the responses that are in common in Dominica. We all know the lingo.
Skerrit, he tell me that's none of my damn business.
Where did you hear that, people? Have you guys ever heard that somewhere already? It's none of your damn business. Have you guys heard such utterances before? And so they say, monkey see, monkey do. Monkey hear, monkey repeat. I'm not calling the policeman a monkey, but that policeman must have heard that statement somewhere, and it got deposited in his gray matter that he can now recall it and repeat it to a man he is asking to recall certain things. So Michael is saying the police officer is so out of place. He's telling him, it's not your damn business where Malik Skerrit is. All I want you to do is to talk to me. That is what I'm inferring by what that police is saying to Michael. And so, Dominicans, if you guys don't know where you are living, I know. If you guys don't know the operators or some of the operators in the system that passes for government or governance, I know. And so when a similar question was asked of Roosevelt Skerrit back then as to where he is getting the monies to run the country, Roosevelt Skerrit, the author of what the police repeated, said, I believe to Edison James then, when Edison James asked the question, on behalf of the people, it is not your damn business where Roosevelt Skerrit gets money from. Roosevelt Skerrit get money, he used money. Words to that effect. I'm not quoting him verbatim. And so, the book of Ecclesiastes says, there is nothing new under the sun. And for sure, there is nothing new in Dominica.
So I tell him, I cannot recall to give any statement. I'm a madman and I do have good head and I cannot think. And I cannot recall. When I tell that to the police, he slammed down the phone in my face. But I have his number, he called me from. And then a day I was happening to be like Greens Wholesale. And the police approached me and tell me, is he that called me? Sometimes the police does work undercover in plain clothes in certain establishments. So then he told me it was nothing personal, you know? But I just laugh. So on record, an incident happened in Dominica. We were accident on the 13th or 14th of August, the Sunday, to be exact, in 2023. And a month later, a police calling me to investigate, to ask me what I have to say or give a comment. So I see that was going nowhere, and I see that was justice delayed, justice denied, because of the certain influence of politics in it. So I declined by saying I do have good head. I cannot recall. You can put that on a record. Yeah. I have the police phone number, and I don't know his name, but I know him by face. Yeah. Lofty.
All right. Thank you, Brother Michael Timothy, a patriot of Dominica, always willing to speak his mind and speaking truth to power. So Dominicans, we are where we are, and that is just how it is in Dominica. And as I said, it's only with the people to come between there and stem the tide, stem the flow, because Dominica has been bleeding as a country for much too long. So hence, Michael Timothy now had that engagement with that investigating officer. He now coins it for us, puts it into context, just why we have not been able to hear or see any report coming out from the police end that they said they are investigating the matter. And so without a report now by the police, that case, as Michael rightly said, it ain't going nowhere. But there are many ways to skin a cat. There are many different ways to skin a cat. And I am just sad. It is my taxpayers' dollar, your taxpayers' dollar, that will be spent when the state is sued for a police officer not doing their work as it pertains to not putting a report together now for a young lady to be properly compensated as a result of an accident in which she was involved with, where her boyfriend died. She is fighting for her life as it pertains to her mobility. And you have the main architect of that accident. He's somewhere out there, spraying, having a seemingly jolly good time. But the universe have a way of lining up its ducks in a row. And when those ducks are lined up, we cannot run from retribution. That's my take on that. Anything worth reporting again on that matter, I will report to you guys. Dominicans, the final leg of our discussion tonight. We have 15 minutes to go. We saw again on social media a document floating around that says Dominica has not paid its dues. The bill it is owing, that is owing in its name as Dominica. So we have not paid our dues. You and I have not paid our dues to the United Nations in terms of getting representation at that high body, at that high level. That is what that letter boils down. That is what it boils down to. So I'm going to punch that letter to you guys. Let me just show you guys that letter. Read through that letter for you guys, for those of you who haven't seen it as yet. And that letter is the first one that is out. Okay? That letter is the first one that is out. But there's another letter that I received from some connections from the UN. That letter basically just speaks of we owing money. It didn't tell us nothing about how much we owe. But the second document I'm going to show you, it's going to tell us how much we owe. All right? Let's go in the interest of time. It says countries in arrears in payment of their financial contributions under the terms of Article 19 of the UN Charter, the United Nations Charter. The article says, under Article 19 of the Charter of the United Nations, a member state in arrears in payment of its dues in an amount that equals or exceeds the contributions due for 2 preceding years can lose its vote in the General Assembly. It continues by saying, an exception is allowed if the member state can show that conditions beyond its control contributed to this inability to pay. As of 17 January 2023, 9 member states are subjected to provisions of Article 19 of the Charter. And these 9 countries are listed as follows: Comoros, Dominica, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Lebanon, Sao Tome and Principe, Somalia, South Sudan, and Venezuela, that is the Bolivarian Republic. It says here, in conclusion, in its resolution 77 of 2, adopted on 7th October 2022, the General Assembly decided that the Comoros, Sao Tome and Principe, and Somalia would be permitted to vote in the assembly until the end of its 77th session. That is what that letter tells us, people. Now you see the other 8 countries there? The other 8 countries, they are owing. But this little one is of interest to us. This one. This one. Pays nous, our country. Let me go back now, people, to give us an idea of just how much our country, Dominica, is owing to the United Nations. And as I said, that document came to me from someone connected to the United Nations. Because I love the facts. That letter, it was much too general. So this here, the print is sort of small. All right, but let me see if I can blow that up for you, and then we can move on. All right. Why it's not moving now? All right. It says here, 78th session, agenda item 138, scale of assessments for the appointment of the expenses of the United Nations. That letter is dated 8th January 2024. That was what? 2-3 weeks ago. From the Secretary General addressed to the President of the General Assembly. It says 1, at present, so we had 9 before, but now we have 10, so there's an update. It says at present, 10 member states are in arrears under the terms of Article 19 of the Charter of the United Nations, which states, a member of the United Nations which is in arrears in the payment of its financial contributions to the organization shall have no vote. Hear that, people? Shall have no vote in the General Assembly if the amount of its arrears equals or exceeds the amount of the contributions due from it for the preceding 2 full years. The General Assembly may, nevertheless, permit such a member to vote if it is satisfied that the failure to pay is due to conditions beyond the control of the member. Number 2 states, number 2 states the minimum payments necessary to reduce the amounts owed by those member states on their contribution so that they remain below the gross amount assessed for the preceding 2 full years, that is 2022 and 2023, are as follows. Now remember, it says the minimum payments, we'll get to that in just a while. So the member states are, the 10 member states now are Afghanistan, Antigua and Barbuda, Comoros, Dominica, Ecuador, Iran, Liberia, Somalia, Sao Tome, and Venezuela. Okay? Now, these are the countries here, people, and these are the monies that is owed by these countries to the United Nations. Dominica, people, Dominica, our country. The minimum payment that Dominica has to make to get back its voting right at the United Nations, as I'm being told, it is $11,390 US. Okay? I want to repeat. The minimum payment that Dominica as a country has to pay to get back its voting right at the United Nations level, it is $11,390 US. I have a big calculator in front of me. 11,390 times 2.67. We're talking about $30,411.30. Again, I repeat, Dominica has to pay at least its minimum payment to get back its voting right, $30,411.30. Now, what I'm being told, people, that is the minimum payment to get back on track as a country. It may well be that Dominica is owing much more. But as per the stipulations, regulations, where the United Nations is concerned, it is saying if the country, based on the calculations, however they do the calculation, pay whatever is requested of them as their minimum payment. And in Dominica's case, it is 11,000 US. A meager, I must say, 11,000 US, which amounts in EC to a meager, because when we're talking about Dominica, we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about millions and billions. So if Dominica is owing 30,000 EC dollars thereabout, it cannot pay, or it choose not to pay, or whatever it is as it relates to payment, and have lost its voting right at the United Nations, then tell us what? Tell us what do we have as a government and the representatives representing us at such high levels. So, to the, or I should call them, to the bona fide journalists out there, when you go to Skerritt's press sham conferences, you need to ask him just why our country is owing at the United Nations and we cannot meet a meager 30,000 EC dollars to get us back on track. Somebody else is writing here to me. They haven't paid the Organization of International Francophonie neither. That's why there's no scholarships for Dominicans. Those people are too wicked. Dominicans, it is 5 minutes to the hour of 8 o'clock. And so in the next 5 minutes, we will be out of here. But just before we get out of here, let me just see if I can go through some of your comments before we bring the proceedings down to the wire tonight. All right? So just to recap, Dominicans, we touched on our hospital tonight. We also touched on the voice note that emanated there. We also touched on as well the situation as it pertains to the Pal Rep Send Me kind of process that is being adopted at our health institutions. We also touched on recapping of that unfortunate night where a young man lost his life as a result of an accident, where the son of Roosevelt Skerritt, in the name of Malik Skerritt, was driving a vehicle TN854, and that vehicle, it is registered in Dominica under a company's name. That vehicle, the vehicle licenses was expired at the time, and also no active insurance policy was attached. Hence, we have now the pinion rider of that deceased brother struggling in terms of trying to walk again. We heard a story, so we are not going back there. Mr. Skerrit publicly acknowledged his son was in an accident and sent condolences messages to the family of the deceased then. And so it wasn't only the deceased Mr. Skerrit that was in an accident. There is still, on this side of life, a young lady struggling to make ends meet. And I am saying to you, if you still have a conscience, then it is just humane of you to turn back and attend to that young lady in the name of Jada Sejan, that your son, Malik Skerrit, caused an accident. As a result, she's fighting to be mobile again. All right? And unless and until justice is done by her, the pressure will continue to mount, be it legally or publicly. Finally, Dominicans, we touched on the situation where we saw we as a people, we are owing the United Nations some dues, some money, some l'argent. And in EC, it's a meager $30,000 thereabout. I got those figures from very confidential sources connected to the United Nations. And so I can tell that to you from a position of fact. But the source said that we may be owing much more. That is just that $30,000. It is just the base to get us back on track. All right? It's just to get us back on track. And so if we cannot pay that as a country, or we choose not to pay that as a country, then until then, we shall have no voting powers as to the discussions that will be going on at the United Nations level. So those persons we have been paying money to sit and represent us, they are not doing good by their representation as it pertains to us in Dominica. Tomorrow, Dominicans, on the Civic Vibes program, if everything holds well, we will be having a brother from Antigua and Barbuda, that is brother Vierbert III. That is the son of Lester Bird, former Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. He will be coming to speak to us on Civic Vibes as to giving us some updated information as to some of the situations that are going on in Antigua and Barbuda as we speak. Of interest, he will be touching on the CBI program in Antigua and Barbuda. So Dominicans, that is it for me. That is it for us. Again, I want to ask us to support the Calypso semi-finals tonight. If you can, make it your duty to be in the flesh at the Windsor Park forecourt, that is, where 20 Calypsonians will be doing battle. 9 will go through to try to unseat Brother Trilogy, who has that coveted title for 1 year now. Thank you, Dominicans. Till we meet next week, that is, once the good Lord above is willing, for another Civic Vibes program. Well, not another Civic Vibes program, but another live engagement, followed by another Civic Vibes program. Yes, that is yours truly, signing out. Bye-bye. I love you. Take care, Dominicans.